Alright, somebody asked me about making a rock avalanche like Crash Hard made in his video. So what I'd say you need first is you need this blank Jbeam file. That'll get you started. Now rename the blank Jbeam to the name of the mod you're going to call whatever you're going to call it. I'm just going to call it rocks. Inside of that folder, put this folder in your unpacked folder where your game's user folder is, and mods and unpacked. That's where you're putting this folder. So open the folder, go into mod info, open this info file, put in here the name of the mod, which should be rocks. Put your name in here. Save the file. Now close this. Now back up and go into vehicles. Change this folder. This is also where your mod name goes. And remember, if you use caps and lowercase. Alright, this image you can make later. This is just the image, the preview. This is just from the previous mod. You're going to replace that with your own preview picture for your mod. Now in this main materials, I labeled this stuff so you'll know this is where the texture name from Blender goes. That goes in 3 spots. Color map is where the basic color map will go. Like I don't know, bricks.jpg or whatever. So I left that here. Now I'm going to go ahead and name this rocks, because I know that's what I'm going to call the damn texture in Blender. I'm just showing you this is how this goes. So when we get to that part, you'll be like, oh okay, I see. You know what? I guess I'll make it a texture, I don't know, rocks.dds. Now I don't actually have a rock texture yet, but I'm gonna just remember that's what I named it. So this is in the rocks folder. This is the empty Jbeam that doesn't have anything in it but the bare minimum, just the bare minimum. And I have where your mod name goes here. This is where your name goes. And anytime you see a slash dash dash, this means this is just a note that I made. Maybe it can help you understand a little better. Like, for example, nodes go under the group that belong to, like group A, for example. Here is an example. So you know what is supposed to go here looks like this. Not that we're putting that there, but that's what that would look like. And it's up to you if you want to line all your stuff up to be neat. It doesn't have to be, but that's up to you. And then you go down to the beam section, and it says beam start here. Here is an example. Yeah, this is what it would look like. You know, but there'd be a lot of them. That's just an example of one. These go under the ID 1 and ID 2, but you need something here to tell the thing. So this is you could just consider this a default setting for you. This is just what these are defaulted to be. They'll follow this rule. You can change this stuff, but for now, they'll follow this rule once they're pasted here. And the collision triangles, they go here. Here's an example of them. So if that was copied and pasted there, that's what that would look like. Now remember this letter N. This letter N, we're going to come back to that. Alright, let's go ahead and give the mod name its name here, rocks. And the mesh name from Blender we haven't made yet, so let's go into Blender. Let's go ahead and do that now. We'll start a new file. Let me turn these on here. So you can see what key I'm hitting. There we go. Maybe make that a different color. Alright. Wish there was a way to make that larger, but I don't know how. So this is a new file. I'm just going to delete this cube. You know what? I'll just leave the cube. Let's just leave it. We'll get rid of the light, get rid of the camera. We'll call this rock. With an S, rocks. So this is the mesh. So the mesh that the game is going to look for is in the Jbeam. This is where you put that name that I just made. That goes here. Since that's object 1, I'm just going to call it, tell it it goes with group A. If I made more than one of rock, and I could combine them all in Blender and they'd all still be group A, or I can make individual rocks and call them group B, C, D, E, and F, and they all have their own various properties. But to keep things simple, let's just keep it simple. Rocks. Now nothing gets put here. The game's going to look and say, oh, okay, we're looking for rocks.dae. Not that DAE's in here, but that's what it's actually looking for when it goes to make the model. And as long as the Jbeam you export has collision triangles, which they will if you use the exporter, then it'll display them. Sometimes people make beams and they don't need triangles, like you're just using it to make an anchor for something. And in that case, you wouldn't need triangles for those. But we'll get into that in another video. So let's make this thing a rock. I'm going to make it very basic. Like I said earlier, the material, by default, it's called material, but this is also going to be called rocks. Keeping it simple, you know. So if we load up that texture file from our rocks location, you'll see lowercase rocks. This is what I said. You got to remember, if you use lowercase or uppercase, that'll make all the difference if your mod works or don't work, or if your texture says no material. So let's find a base color. Now I don't actually have a rock texture off the top of my head, or now I don't know where really. I got to kind of look for a minute. So I'm gonna go into a level that I made previously. I'm sure somewhere in here, somewhere in one of these other levels, I have something that is a rock that I made. One of my rocks. Yeah, rock pile. I guess this will work. Rockpile2.dds. Let me open this file. We're going to have to make a small change. I'm going to turn this on so we can see our material. Now I'm not taking the time to UV map this thing. I went over that in another video. This is just how it's going to be. Now rockpile2.dds, this is going to get copied into the mod folder once we export this. Now this is not a rock, I get that. It doesn't look like a rock. But you're going to pretend it's a rock. Now, to use the Jbeam exporter, to make this also be the mesh and the Jbeam also, the Jbeam, the easiest way to reinforce the walls so that they do not collapse on themselves is to go into edit mode, hit A, mesh, Jbeam, nodes connector. That'll basically connect every node to every node, reinforcing the thing, making it stronger. Then you have to go to face, triangulate faces. Even if it doesn't look like it did anything, it did something. Or at least the exporter thinks it did something. It won't let you export unless the faces are triangulated. So now that's done, let's go to object mode, and we get a crash. That son of a bitch. I tell you, man, that thing pisses me off sometimes. That happens. That's why it's often wise to save your work. So Well, you get to see this again. Rocks. And this time I'll save the damn file before I do anything in there. Save your file. Oh, let's change this. Let's get back to where we were anyway. Rocks. Delete the light, delete the camera. Save. No matter what you call it here. You call it whatever you want to call it. Now, wherever you save this Jbeam to is where it's going to export. I mean, wherever you save this Blender file is where it's going to also export the Jbeam file. So let's make this thing Jbeam compatible, and let's go to edit mode once again and do the damn nodes connector and then the face triangulate faces. Now this is where it does want to crash often. I don't know why, but when you go back to object mode, sometimes it'll crash. It didn't this time. It usually don't, but sometimes it does. Just remember that's a tricky place for it to crash. Now if you look in here, you see this little yellow dot. That means the origin is set to the center of this object. That's not going to work with the game. It needs to be set to where the Blender considers 0, 0, 0 is where the green line, the red line, and if you were moving something up and down, the blue line, where they all come together at 0 point. So to do that, you just say set origin to 3D cursor and then apply all transforms, and that is done. It is now set. If you don't do this and you export the Jbeam, you'll do all that work and you'll realize the mesh is not inside the damn Jbeam. It'll be somewhere else, and it'll be stretching the thing, and it'll look ridiculous. So this is where this is going to be. It should spawn above the ground, but it'll probably spawn on the ground. But let's save the file again, since it did not crash. Now, do you remember a minute ago, and I said, we're going to remember this little letter here, this letter N. You see this letter N is in the nodes and the triangles, and it's also in the beams. I mean the nodes, like here's like a node. That letter, if you're making multiple objects that are in different groups, then you have to hit this green thing, and down here where you see nodes, change the prefix. I'm going to put A. Actually, I'm going to make it capital A, just so you can see what I did. Now, we're going to export to Jbeam. And where that got sent to, if you click on this pyramid, ball thing, this triangle, whatever it is, you'll see the export path for your Jbeams. I'm just going to copy it to the clipboard. It makes life a lot easier. Now I'm going to export the actual model that will be considered the rock as a collider, and this is going to go in the mod folder that you're working on, that is inside your unpacked folder of your user folder. Just let me navigate back to it. So this is the user folder. This is the default location, and in there you see mods, and this is where we've been working in the unpacked folder. This is where our rocks is. Open that, open vehicles, open rocks, save the DAE, let it copy the texture into there, and export. So we should be done here. Unless I'm forgetting something, we should be done there. Now, now if you see, it did copy the texture. I'm just going to rename this. Throat got dry. Alright. I'm just going to rename this just for the purposes. Well, actually, before I do that, let me paste what's already on the clipboard, which is where that Jbeam was exported. Let's see, there's the Jbeam. Alright, now I'm going to rename this just to copy it on the clipboard. Yeah, I could just type it, but I don't want to make sure. I want to make sure I don't spell something wrong or have a typo. So in here, the color map, I'm just going to paste that texture. That eliminates any confusion. Now, empty Jbeam. Now we need to bring our stuff over here from the rock. So in Notepad++, we'll go to that exported Jbeam, we'll drag it and drop it into there. Now we're going to left click and drag and move that over here and say move to other view. Sometimes when you do that, it will swap these things and one will be on the other side. It doesn't matter what side they're on. I just personally prefer to copy stuff moving it from the right to the left, but that's just a preference. Now there is that letter A, that capital letter A that I showed you we had to make, which it'll default letter N for anything you make in here. But if you're making multiple things, they can't all be letter N's, or you'll end up with duplicates of things in the same space and cause a space-time continuum disruption, and the fabric of reality will explode. I don't know. So here's our exported file, our exported Jbeam rather. Now you might say, well, why can't we just use the exported Jbeam as the Jbeam? Well, because it doesn't fill out everything. It's just basically putting in the nodes, the beams, and the triangles. We're like, well, isn't that all the Jbeam really is? Well, no, it's actually, it's got the name of the mod, your name, it's got the reference nodes where the camera goes, it's got the weight of the nodes, which are not, or those are the nodes. It's got the weight, whether they're fixed, what kind of sound they make when they break, whether they're collisions, all that crap. All that stuff is absent. The friction's absent, all that stuff, which we'll change the friction to 1.5 while I'm at it. So remember, if you change it to less than 1, you got to put a 0. Just remember that. So first thing first, copy these nodes and drag and drop them right there where I say they go. Right there. You don't have to line the stuff up. I'm not going to. I mean, sometimes, you know, stuff is, you know, all different ways and stuff, but it just looks neater. But it doesn't have to be like that. Next thing, beams start here. Here's an example. So here's our beams. I guess I should have put a letter A, but you should get the idea. Now it will sometimes throw in an R and an L, or you know, it may not have that, but just as important is that whatever the first letter is what defines what it is. See, like it made L, it made R, but that don't matter. Just all it matters is that the first thing is A. You could even type out the word like arm if it was like the Jbeam for an arm of a dummy or head, and it would put that in there. But we're sticking to A. So here's all these beams. They're gonna go right there. Drag and drop and put them right there. Lastly, collision triangles. Triangles go here. Here's an example. So we scroll down to the triangles and we grab them and we drop them right there. Now this should be finished. Everything looks finished. I might have missed something. I'm not going to get into the reference nodes right now. That takes too long to explain. I'm just going to save the file. Just leave these blank, which just means there's nothing in it. We'll come back to that, or we'll just make a video just on reference nodes one day. That'll explain that. But we're just sticking to the bare minimum. Alright, we saved our Jbeam. Let's close, or minimize. You can minimize. Let's load the game, and our rocks, or our rock, should appear. Now, note this is still called empty Jbeam. It's up to you if you want to rename this. I'm just going to rename it to rocks. Now let's really fast. Let's change this default picture. I'm just going to take a screenshot of this. I'm gonna load it real quick in my photo editor. Just gonna paste. Now I'm gonna crop it 2 to 1. 2 to 1. And in GIMP, you gotta make this extra step. You gotta drag a marquee, and you gotta say image, crop the selection. Alright, now change the image scale. 400 by 200 is the requirement. That's our preview picture. Export as, if you're using GIMP, anyway, you gotta export as. Go into the mods, unpacked the rocks, vehicles, rocks, and overwrite that default.jpg with this one. Replace it. Alright. Load the game and our mod should work. I'm just going to load a small grid just to verify that the thing works before I do anything else. Where's their mod? It's not in here. What the hell? Oh. I don't know how I did that. But yeah. I had 2 Jbeams in there. Someone I just renamed. I should have just left the damn thing say empty Jbeam, but I should have just stuck with my instincts there. Somehow I ended up with 2 Jbeams in there. Oh, wait a minute. How is that hell is there 2? Oh, because I was showing y'all how you got to. Let me just move that out of there. And let me move that out of there. So I'm trying to explain how to make this at the same time. I want stuff in the folder so you can see them and stuff, but there's conflicts of interest. Get that stuff out of there. All right, let's see. Still don't see my damn mod, man. What the hell? Oh, damn, this was in, no, wait a minute. That's, how the hell did that happen? How did that happen? Apparently, rocks is already taken. So we have to give it another mod name. I mean, I still don't see how, because it's not the exact same name, but let's just change it. Rocks 1. Damn. can't make a video for shit. Something always goes wrong. And I ain't got time to edit this stuff, man. This just shit takes too long. And I don't make money off these videos, so there ain't no much of really an incentive. So you just take them like you get them and hope they help. I start making money. Probably edit them. Spend a little more time on them. But do this shit for free. I ain't taking the time to do all that. Rocks 1. Alright. There. I'm just gonna, you know what? I'm gonna go in the temp folder just to make sure that there's not. You know what? I'm gonna delete all the shit in the temp folder. Delete all of it. All of it. I don't damn know. Sometimes the temp shit overwrites your stuff and you have a weird ass bug. Or delete the database file. You just get some weird shit happening sometimes once something screws up one time, sometimes it's inevitable. It's going to keep screwing up till you delete the temp folder. There's our rocks. There we go. Let's spawn that bastard. Look at that son of a bitch there. That's a rock there, Fred. I ain't never seen one. Alright. Mod works. Next thing. Next thing here. Alright, if you go into your extracted folder, you'll see a Lua teleport. You're just going to copy this to your clipboard. And then in the game, what you're going to do is you're going to go to Create Object, BeamNG, Lua trigger. Now when you place this, you select it, you'll see the area of influence. I'm going to scale it larger and flatter. Alright, now this is the Lua teleporter. To make it work, you got to go to Lua function here, click on this button, and up here what you're going to do is paste that stuff from the clipboard. Now what this means is whatever enters this is where it's going to be sent to in space and time. Now it's just X, Y, and Z. Now say this rock here is falling and it goes through the teleporter, which it didn't do anything yet, but because I didn't hit OK yet. Let's pause the game and let's move this thing. I don't know, let's move it over here. And you know what, let's turn this thing on its side like this. Let's make a quick mesh road just to be a, oh, I hate that damn texture. Hate it, can't stand looking at that red texture. Alright, so I'm going to make this just a big wide road. Because what's this going to imitate is a big hill. So now we pick our object, our mod of our rock. Now here's where we want this to reappear. these coordinates. So we copy the first one and we paste it right here. Copy the second one and paste it here. And copy the last one and paste it here. Save by clicking OK. Now that is saved. So if I undo the simulation, this should, I doubt it'll roll. This probably ain't steep enough, but let's just try it. Oh, you know what? I forgot to rebuild collisions. Let's try it again. So you get the idea how an avalanche is created. Now, you can make many copies of something. I mean, I don't know how many you want to make, but you can make these things all day long. So you run out of resources. And I can tell this hill is going to have to be steeper. Oh yeah, rebuild collision and you move those. Let's restart. Damn, look at all that. They're all damn jumbled up. Well, we got to fix that. I don't know how that happened, but things got out of hand quick. Things got all jumbled up. Just remember, wherever you pause the game and you tab and you reset a vehicle, well, while it's paused, this is where it'll remember, where it'll reappear when you unpause it. You don't want things inside of one another. So I'm just hitting tab and I'm cycling between these different ones, and I'm hitting R to relocate them. I'm not doing all of them, but that's how it's done. That sound, let me show you what you're hearing in the mod. That sound is this sound. There are several different ones. I believe there's a stone. I know there's a lot of them. There's even like a fire and the water and just different ones like cloth, but we'll put stone, or actually let's put cloth. Let's reload the mod. I think we got to reload the level. Alright, vehicles should have a different sound when it hits the ground. No more metal clanking. It's cloth. But you can't really hear anything. I don't know, let's see what stone. Like I said, this is just the sound that this makes. And this is how much friction how much it bounces or slides, and this is the node weight for this object. If you want to make it 100, make it 100. Let's just reload it since we modified it. Reload the low, reload the mod. I'll spawn new. Now this should be a heavy thing. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I can't think of nothing else really. If I forgot something, then just let me know.